happy with what I'm seeing so far. It's looking really good. Do you brine your chicken? If you don't, I highly recommend you give it a try. It might just become a step that you never skip again. I don't care if it's smoked, grilled, fried, or baked. Brining chicken infuses it with moisture and flavor that's incredible. And if you add a few extra spices to that brine, oh man, it's magical. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. It's really easy. Here we go. A brine is basically 1 cup of salt for every 1 gallon of water. We're gonna be making a 2-quart brine. So what I have here is 1 quart of water that's gonna be brought to a boil in this pot, and we have a 1/2 cup of kosher salt flake here. Along with that, we're also gonna add in a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and I have in here a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of onion powder, a tablespoon of black pepper, and a teaspoon of poultry seasoning. We're gonna let this boil in this pot here and simmer for about 20 minutes to make sure everything blends in nicely. And then we're gonna be adding another quart of ice water so we can bring it down to a nice cool temperature so it'll be safe to put the chicken in. All right, water's boiling, so we're gonna go ahead and add in all of the ingredients, and then we're just gonna stir until everything's nice and, well, the salt and the sugar is nice and dissolved. And then we're going to cut the heat down and let it simmer for about 20 minutes on a really low heat. All right, I've been stirring for about 1 minute now, and I don't feel anything grainy on the bottom of the pot. It feels nice and smooth, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut the heat down and just let it simmer for 20 minutes. Our brine has been simmering away for a good 20 minutes now, so we can go ahead and cut that heat. We're done with that. What I've got here is a large stainless steel mixing bowl, and I've got a quart of ice water. Just filled this thing up full of ice and topped it off with the water. So it doesn't need to be exact measurements, but there we go. And let's go ahead and get the brine in here, the hot liquid. The purpose of what we're doing right here is to cool that brine down, because you don't want to put your raw chicken in a hot brine and then let it sit in here for hours, because then you're going to start warming your chicken above its safe holding temperature. We need to keep that chicken nice and cold. So we're going to get this brine nice and cold, then we're going to go ahead and submerge the chicken in there, and then it's going to go in the refrigerator, and you're going to want to let it sit in this brine for at least 2 hours. 2 hours is the minimum. 4 to 6 hours is excellent. So if you did this in the morning or something, you're going to cook it later on in the afternoon, that works out really well, okay? All right, I've stirred up the brine to melt all the ice in there. So let's go ahead and check the temperature and see where we are. We're at 54 degrees. Well, I wouldn't mind it being a little bit colder. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add a few more pieces of ice, and we'll stir it a little more. Yeah, just a few pieces there. That ought to do the trick. Now, of course, you can avoid having to do this if you make the brine several hours in advance or the night before maybe, and let it thoroughly cool in your refrigerator. All right, let's see where we are now. And we're at 46 degrees. I'm happy with that. Also, the chicken that I'm about to put in here is even just a little bit icy inside still, so that's totally good. All right, we've got our chicken here, so all we're gonna do is we're gonna take this chicken, we're gonna put it breast side down into the brine, and I'm just gonna make sure it's submerged nicely there. If you needed to add a little bit more water to the brine to get it fully submerged, you can do that. I'm just going to kind of work it around a little bit and make sure that brine kind of works its way on the inside nicely. And then we're just going to go ahead and put this in the refrigerator, and we're going to let it sit in there for a minimum of 2 hours, like I said before. That's simple. That's how you brine your chicken. All right, well, this chicken has been soaking in the brine for a few hours now, so it is good to go. So now, the fun part, all you got to do is just take it out of your brine and get it onto your baking sheet or whatever, and go ahead and cook it however you're going to cook it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and check it out, because I'm going to show you this particular chicken cooked over an open flame on a rotisserie with a cool little Weber kettle accessory that I got. So you can check that out. But if you're going to go ahead and season it up and do it however you're going to do it. You can also do this with chicken parts. It doesn't have to be a whole chicken. It could be just nothing but legs or wings or thighs or breasts or whatever you want to do. It doesn't need to be whole when it goes in there. You can cut it up and, then season it and go ahead and cook her up. So this is it. Pretty easy. I hope this has been helpful to you, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that like button. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. This is Tony with Tony Tone Barbecue, and have fun, my friends. Yeah. I'm happy with what I'm seeing so far. It's looking really good.